still talk. This is a podcast about you. You gotta talk and say something. You can't
just be like, just talk and I don't know what to say now.
Anyway, we're moving on to the actual podcast segment of the podcast.
Are you gonna introduce me like that?
How do you want me to introduce you? This is my sister. Sister Sumayyah. Okay, anyway.
Okay, we need to redo this because this is so bad.
Yeah, I know, because I wasn't actually starting.
Okay, good. Oh, can you imagine?
Yes, I can, because I'm still going to put it up.
Sister, sorry. Oh, it's snowing outside.
Clearly, this is not a J, as you guys can clearly tell.
Oh my god, wow. It's not a J.
And a J did not kick me out. We're still friends.
Are you sure?
Shut up. Sumayyah.
Also known as Sumi on the internet.
This is Sumayyah. She's a great friend of mine for how long? Really?
Since grade 4, so more than 10 years now.
A really long time, let's just say that. You know, I finally got in contact with you about this because I wanted to interview you for as I started the podcast, to be honest. But along with a lot of my friends
I get it,
and things like that. But regardless, though, I finally got a hold of you, and let me just say, it is a pleasure to have you on the show.
Oh my god, thank you. You're being nice to me. I'm like super honored to be here because I watch all your episodes and I think it's one of your best contents that you post.
Really?
And I like listen to it and I'm just like, shit, you guys are so deep and it hits me. And I like put the notification thing whenever you upload. I'm like, yeah. And I watch it.
Wow, look at that. Wow.
Seriously, your podcast, you should put it on Spotify, on iTunes and all that shit.
Yeah, speaking of which, I'm actually working on that, so if I do succeed, if future admin does succeed in putting it on...
You will.
On Spotify and so on and so forth, you'll see links and I'll let you know. And
links in the description box below. Am I doing it right?
Yeah, you're doing it right. Wow, you're a natural YouTuber. Good job.
I know.
And there's a reason I wanted you on to the podcast, because she does a lot. She's a freelance photographer. You're a graphic designer as well.
Graphic designer. Just a content creator on many social media platforms in general.
Why don't you tell the audience about some of your work and what you do?
Well, currently what I'm focusing on right now is building my portfolio in terms of fashion photography. So I'm shooting with a lot of models, collaborating with a lot of makeup artists, and I'm also going to school for graphic design, and that has to do with advertising. So just like creating media in general, digital, physical media.
I've seen a lot of your work pop out recently. She's uploading a lot more content on social media and things like that. I know you have a blog as well as a website.
Yes, I kind of got rid of my blog.
Oh, okay. All right.
I just wanted to kind of delete that part. Just fresh new start with but mostly it's just I'm focusing on my photography, and that's like the main spotlight, and not me entirely.
Okay. So just as a quick endorsement, because I do love your work, to be honest, and I think it's very inspirational on my end to see you work so hard and produce content like that.
That's so sweet.
So if you guys haven't already checked her out, I highly recommend you do so. She has her own website at sumayyahsiddiqa.com.
SumiSiddiqa.com.
But again, you see, this is why I wanted you on the show, because I know there was a time, maybe you can elaborate as well, there was a time maybe you weren't so out there putting out content, things like that. And you made significant progress in a very inspiring journey that I wanted to hear into and share with the podcasting community here.
I think I would correct you on that. It's not like I wasn't putting out content. It's just I wasn't putting out the best content that I could put out.
Okay.
Also, not being true to myself. Because I always knew that I wanted to get into photography, and that was like my thing, but I never fully embraced it or transitioned. So I think I did painting, a lot of painting stuff, a lot of all different types of photography, which I didn't like. Basically.
Regardless of that, so you went to Ryerson out of high school.
Yeah,
right?
Ryerson.
You went to Ryerson for a year?
Yeah, for graphic communications.
Okay.
GCM.
And how was graphic communication for that?
It was complete trash for me. First of all, I realized I don't function well in like a university setting. The people were not really that, no offense. I'm pretty sure there was great people, but I didn't just vibe.
Yeah.
I didn't find my people there. was not what I was interested. I just went into something because everyone's going into university right after high school. So I just went into university. I hated it. I was really depressed that first year.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think I'll even myself went into university thinking that eventually you find out this is maybe not for me.
Yeah,
right?
and that's all right. You figure it out.
Okay, and then after you figured out maybe it wasn't for your place, you went to George Brown.
Yeah, I did a marketing agency. I worked at a marketing agency that summer, and I'm like, I can't do a 9 to 5 job I hate, so I can't be in a university that I hate. So I'm like, I'm gonna go into graphic design because at that moment it was like the only creative thing that had like a job that I could do. So I'm like, I'm going to George Brown for graphic design, and that's what I did.
Okay, and how long were you in George Brown for?
Well, I went back, but I was in that program for 1.5 years, and then I dropped out.
Then you dropped out.
Yeah, I dropped out.
What I wanted to ask is that, all right, I don't think that's part of the growing process.
But at that time I was like, I can't stick to anything. Like my commitment issues are just like everywhere.
Can't commit to any school
can't
program
commit to
at
any
all.
man. Can't commit to any school. Just nothing, man. Just like.
You left George Brown. Was there a specific reason or a moment you discovered why, or was it the same kind of feeling as Ryerson that came back?
No. I found my people at George Brown. Like, I love the teachers. I love the people. I connected, but I had a mental breakdown. I was really depressed. Anxiety, which I've been bottling up, just like caught on. Every day at school, I would be in the washroom having an anxiety attack. And then I figured out graphic design is not what I want to do. And I love fashion and photography. And I was like, I can't connect with the work I'm doing right now if my heart is somewhere else, which is like taking pictures. And I'm like, I want to call myself a photographer, but I never fucking shoot. Like the shoots I do, it's like with my friends, and I'm not proud of it to put it in my portfolio. And I know like no magazine's ever going to hire that.
Oh, right.
And I'm just like, I'm doing this one thing, I'm saying this one thing, it just doesn't match, and I was getting a lot of anxiety out of that, and just like personal issues just building up, and I was extremely unhappy, and I'm like, I need to take a break before I just completely like.
Okay. Yeah.
You know.
All right.
So I'm just like, yeah. So I like dropped out,
and that was one of the major reasons that you did eventually leave George Brown too. Right?
Mostly my mental health, and because I was not connecting with the work I was studying and what I wanted to do.
Okay, so I know there must have been a lot of crazy emotions that you were going through, especially.
Yeah.
But did anything lighten up immediately, say after you dropped out, or how did you feel when you dropped out or like left school?
I felt okay. I knew I was taking a huge risk.
Yeah.
And it felt good that I was doing that because I was finally doing something I wanted. But I also felt like a huge failure. Because it's been ingrained in my mind that in order to be successful, you must go to school. And if you're a dropout, there's such a like a bad thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just the word dropout has such a. I just wanted to say Then I started saying I'm just taking a break from school.
Yeah.
Instead of saying dropout because that just sounds horrible. But yeah, I felt like a failure. I was literally like crying all the time because I'm just like, now what am I gonna do? And it was. I got a job, but like 3 months was just me not doing anything creative at all. 3 months I didn't shoot, I didn't paint, I didn't do anything creative because I felt like a failure because all my other friends were just finishing up their semester and like they're gonna graduate, and I just kept comparing myself. It was pretty bad.
Right. Okay, so and this was like kind of somewhat in 3 months into your break.
It was very bad.
And through that break, I've seen you grow immensely, whether it be through your work and even through yourself, a lot of things. But I don't want to get ahead of myself and start asking you questions at random. But the next thing I wanted to ask you is that eventually you got to a point, as anybody does, where you figure out that I'm derailed in a way, or I'm not where I want to be. And that sparks more sort of kind of decisions, or rather thoughts on what I should do. So what I wanted to ask was that you had an initial phase where you decided, or you were concrete, like, this is not where I wanted to be. This is not what I was expecting. What was your initial step, and what pushed you to your initial step to eventually lead you to the point where you are now, where you're, say, reaching out to models, taking photography a bit more seriously, and really being you? What was the initial step?
It was the initial step. I really got to give kudos to one of my friends is Sarah Hussein.
Okay.
She's a professional henna artist, and she
Okay.
loved my work, and she reached out to me, and she's like, I want to do this shoot, this editorial shoot for this magazine, and I haven't shot in 3 months. And I'm like, I'm freaking horrible at shooting and at everything. And she reached out to me, and this was a person who believed in me, and I'm like, okay. And so that's what it started. 3 months, nothing creative. And then that shoot, she organized everything because she was the creative director. So she got the models, she got the makeup artist,
Right.
she got the location, she had the ideas. All I had to do was put in my ideas and collaborate.
Right.
So I was like, okay, this is not a lot of work, so this is great. And and we shot, and then we got some really beautiful, I was really nervous to shoot. And then that got the creative juices flowing, and I was like, oh my gosh, so this is what it feels like to be creating again, because I was in such a depressive state. And once you're creative again, and you post the pictures, and you show the pictures, and it's good, and you're like, oh my God, I could breathe again. And this is why I was so sad, because I was not creating, and I just needed that one person to be like, okay, go out there and create.
Oh, okay. So it's just like out of the blue, she just kind of pulled you out. And
I mean, we've been talking about collaborating, and then I was like, I'm just doing nothing. I'm just working right now. And she's like, okay, we should do a shoot. And we ended up doing 2 shoots together. And then that was the first time I ever worked with a professional model and a professional makeup artist. And I was like, okay, this is the shit I want to do. And it felt so good. And I'm like, okay. And I talked with a makeup artist, and I'm like, okay, so I want to do this. Where do I go from here? And she told me, reach out to people. And I'm like, okay, so this is what happened. And so slowly, because of that one friend reaching out to me and being like, hey, I believe in you, I think we should collaborate, it just got the juices rolling. And then I would have at least one shoot a month.
From 3 months of not doing anything to...
And and I'm like, okay, so if I want to do it, I should just do it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. It shows that what a lot of my friends also go through. What my friend told me is the very hardest part about anything is starting at the very beginning, and I think
it's the hardest, really the hardest.
Takes a lot of momentum and strength, but eventually after that, when you got through that first feel of it, then it starts rolling on with it. Mm-hmm. Now the thing is, when you started dealing with more creative content, say once a month, going on a shoot once a month.
Yeah.
I'm sure not every turn at your work or every turn at your creative endeavor, everything was perfect. It wasn't pitch perfect.
Yeah,
it wasn't,
obviously not.
Yeah.
It never is.
Yeah, and I'm sure. Was there any point throughout those initial phases where, when you failed, or did you fail, and that you felt whether you kind of either disappointed, or was it kind of more like an inspirational kind of moment for you that say not really failed, but not reaching the expectation you had in your mind or things like that?
No, for me, whenever it comes to shoots and it doesn't go my way, I just look at it as, okay, what can I do differently next? It's always been like that for my creative work. I never go oh, ew, that was horrible, I'm a failure. Because in terms of my creative work, I collaborated with some models which I, didn't like, or ideas that didn't work out. I'm like, okay, so now I know what to do next time. It's always been like that for me in terms of my art, because I always learn from it and grow from it. And it helps me to see what I can improve the next time.
That's very interesting, because a lot of people get way too hung up on their first failures.
No, not for my art. But other things, yes. Relationships, yes. People, yes. Not for my art, though.
Not for your creative work? So it's kind of like every time you saw something that didn't go your way, you instantaneously thought, okay,
now
I
know what to do. That's why my photography has improved, because I'm it doesn't look like what I want it to be, and I'm but why? And XYZ factor, and I'm okay, I just gotta change the XYZ factor, reach out to people or do things that will help me get the results that I'm envisioning in my brain.
Instantaneously jumping back up from that, because I know a lot of people where when it comes to their work, they're so devastated about the very first not expectations kind of thing.
I mean, sometimes, don't get me wrong, I'm disappointed in the shoots I do.
Yeah.
But I always feel I get 2 or 3 good pictures out of that. Mm-hmm. And from the rest that I don't get, I'm just okay, well, what went wrong?
Right.
And then I'm every shoot just it gets better. But there are shoots which is like completely trash and I don't post it on anything because I'm like, okay, but I learned from that, and you know, you learn from your failures, as cheesy as it sounds.
No, that's true. It's cheesy because a lot of people say it because it's true.
It's true, yeah.
And how's your life at that point? So if you had to go back a couple months where you weren't doing anything, you were at this job, and
Okay.
to the months things started picking up, like how were your friends? How's your mental health, or how did you look at yourself?
Okay, so dropped out of school. I was very depressed and a lot of anxiety, which I didn't know how to deal with because I figured out that's what it was. It was anxiety. Like I didn't know it was called that.
Right. Okay.
And I was in a relationship, which also was my first like serious relationship, which was like a lot of pressure on me because I didn't know how to deal with that. So pretty bad mentally, but I was, and then pretty bad. I'm not even gonna lie.
That's fine. I think your honesty is amazing.
I'm very honest when it comes to my mental health. And then I had so much anxiety and depression that I went on antidepressants for like almost a month.
Oh, okay.
And that didn't work out because it doesn't work out for everyone.
Right.
And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do that. So I was just trying to figure out my mental health, how to cope, and I'm still figuring it out. You know, exercising, but slowly, like I took it day by day. But I think what really made the turnaround was just doing that one shoot with my friend that got the ball rolling, and I started being creative again. Then I found my identity again.
Oh, okay.
For me, my identity for the longest time was like, I'm a creative, but like not creating anything. And then just not going anywhere with my life. And, you know, I was working like full time, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I have all these financial goals. So I paid off my OSAP loans in full. Like,
That's
you
an
know,
achievement.
so I was doing that. So financially I was doing good, but
right.
I was just trying to figure out emotionally how to
cope with everything. And to be honest, it's always kind of like
it's
figuring it out, because every point in your life there's always going to be newer things that weigh you down. It's not whether something weighs you down or not, but it's more like how you always combat or engage these kind of issues or what's bothering you and fix it, right?
Yeah. And sometimes there's like what I learned from that experience is that for someone who has depression and anxiety, there is no fixing it. Like you're never going to be just like happy. It's just something that's going to be with you forever for the rest of your life. But you just have to learn how to deal with it better so you could continue moving on with your life and doing things. Because a lot of people have like anxiety and depression, like it gets better, but depression is something that is just not cured for most people.
Really?
Yeah, it's not like a curable thing. Like for some people they take like antidepressants for just to get their chemicals in their brain working properly. But it's not like there's like no cure for it. And that when I accepted that, I'm like, okay, this is something that I'm gonna have for like maybe the rest of my life. But I'm coping with it better now. I'm like, I talk to people more and like
making friends, things like that.
Yeah.
Being social.
Well, it's more than that. Like a lot of self-care, which is like therapy, painful self-care. I'm not just talking about putting a face mask on. And that shit's great, but like actually like facing your problems, understanding why you're having this anxiety, because it's not just coming out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Probably memories in the past or things that happened to you are triggering it.
Yeah.
And really facing your fears, and that's painful. It's like going to the gym, you know how your muscles hurt.
Yeah. And always got to deal with these kind of things and finally find a resolve, right?
And then doing that emotionally, for me, I'm such an emotional like person. It like I've been doing that and it's been helpful, and I think I'm in a much better mental state than I was those 3 months. Yeah.
Okay, what happened after the initial starting phase for you? So you went from not being creative at all, being in this static, passive state of just going to work and things. Then you started that initial phase of work. What were you like, or rather, what was your work life or creative, or how?
I was. I was electric with fucking ideas, because all of these like 3 months and like that whole semester, I was not doing it. And then I'm like, oh my god, ideas. I would stay up till 3 in the morning looking at pictures on the internet and just like browsing. I was finding inspiration. I found out my favorite photographers. And,
Wow, okay.
and when I figured that out, I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I was just bursting with ideas. I was just creating, even talking about it, I'm just like, I was just creating mood boards and just commuting, I would be thinking about photography. Looking at something, photography. Just constant showering, photography. And it became to the point where I was super obsessed with it and just obsessed with it. And I knew that this was it. This is the love of my life, and it might change. But I'm like, at that point, I'm like, this is what I want to do. And I was like, there's no other way than to just fucking do it and not be a dumbass and like not be scared and just like DM a bunch of people on Instagram and be like, yo, I think your shit's cool. We should collaborate. And to my surprise, a bunch of people DM me back. They're like, I think your shit's cool too. Let's do it.
Putting yourself out there rather than just contacting.
Yeah, and a lot of people didn't DM me back. I was like put on scene, and that fucking hurts. I was put on scene a bunch of times, and I'm like, you know what? It's all good. One time, and maybe in the future they'll reply.
Yeah, maybe a couple of years later, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and it's possible. Like a lot of people on Instagram, like when my work was trash, my photography was trash. They didn't follow me, and then now they're following me. But I've been following them the whole time, and I don't take offense to that. It's like I know my work improved, and there's so like a long way to go.
What was say if you had to tell somebody on, say what from your passive state to where you were at that point in the story? So what would you tell somebody? Or what would you tell your younger self, in a sense, on how you got to where you were? Was it something like...
What would I tell my younger self?
Like what was a lesson that you really learned through this entire experience of being like, oh man, I want to be creative, but I'm not making anything, to all of a sudden being electrified with ideas and driven insanely?
What would I tell?
What was the lesson?
What was the lesson?
What was the emotional points? Hitting the good questions.
I would just say do something is better than doing nothing. I don't know. It's so fucking cheesy, but it's true.
Yeah, no, honestly, I agree with that.
Like, creative rut, what gives you happiness? Like, creatively making videos?
Yeah, for me, it's making videos, putting it out there. At the end of the day, it's the workflow, it's the momentum that builds as you launch yourself into it. I find that a lot of people, you don't have to be creative to feel these kind of things. You could just be in emotional rut or not have friends and you're like, oh man, I want friends, I want to hang out or whatever, or even school and things like that. You get to a point where you look for emotional readiness, which never comes. Emotional readiness for anything never really shows up. You'll always be like, oh, what if this, what if this, what if it be through your marriage, relationships, school. When you want to start something, waiting for emotional readiness is you're gonna wait till your grave.
Exactly.
And in order to, what I've been discovering through making more podcasts, making more videos, really revamping a lot of my work and content, things like that, really getting out there, was don't wait for emotional readiness. I think everybody goes to that point.
Yeah, I'm going through it kind of right now.
Yeah. It's like at the end of the day, just launch yourself into it. Have a good plan that you're not destructive, but when you know it's not destructive, like rationally, like this is going to be good, and you have more to gain rather than you have to lose, whether it be talking to somebody. Like, what if they leave you on scene? Your life is still going to be the same.
Yeah.
Versus, what if they did reply back? You have everything to gain, but nothing to lose. That's the motto associated with leaving out that concept of being emotionally ready and just launching yourself into it. Because when you really start, what happened with you is that when the momentum starts building...
It's the momentum.
Yeah.
Once you start doing it, it's like... Poof.
And it just keeps electrifying you, keeps you going. The more you do it, the more great you feel. And before you realize it, your life starts changing dynamically. You start making better friends and so on and so forth. And I think that's a very important lesson, not just for creative people, but for anybody. Really, something I'm going through a lot right now as well.
So to get back to your question, figured out the answer.
Yeah.
I would tell my younger self not to over plan things, because I do that. I am such a planner. I like having everything ready, so I do to-do lists, and I do too much to-do lists. And I'm like, oh, this box is not checked, so I can't proceed to the next step. And now I'll be like, just skip the fucking box, okay? Just continue. Yeah, like for shoots, I'd be like, but I can't shoot because I don't have this lens. I'm like, who the fuck cares?
right.
You know, just you have the camera you have, just go do it. And you know what? I created some amazing quality content with the equipment that I had previously. You know, and I would be like, oh, but I need these clothes, and just think around that. Ask the model if you have those clothes. You know, stop creating all these boundaries for yourself, Sumaya, and just do it. It's so lame, but like,
Just do it.
just Shia LaBeouf, just
do it.
Yeah, stop. Okay, don't make to-do lists, but simplify them and try to do at least one thing on the to-do list. Because I look at the to-do list, I'm like, holy shit, so many things to do. I'm not gonna do any of them. So simplify it. Do at least one thing on your to-do list.
And then
Just one thing, and then pop a champagne bottle. Be like, bitch, you did it. Good job.
I'm not sure if you're insinuating the wrong or good idea here.
Don't become an alcoholic, though.
A lot of things have been going on.
Yeah.
You finally started feeling a lot more electrified. Started feeling a lot better. And there was a question I wanted to ask you. It just slipped my mind. God damn it. Let's see. Maybe I have it written down, to be honest.
Okay.
I'm very prepared for all of you who are wondering.
Super
Obviously,
early.
I was super early for the shoot.
30 minutes early.
30 whole minutes early. It's not like I was wondering when to leave and eventually.
Ah, Jesus. But yeah, always come on time. It shows professionalism. Just a future note to any creatives out there. Just anybody. No shade.
Fueling yourself. Now, fueling yourself is, I think, a very, very important concept people should really look into as a...
Feeling yourself.
Not feeling yourself.
I mean, you can do that too. Rated R content alert.
Feeling, this is not part of the podcast. Self-betterment. What made you better?
I mean, that can
discovering myself.
Yeah, sometimes.
Self-discovery.
Sometimes it does, kids. And I advise you to do it.
What? Well, we're gonna have to cut that out. What do you can't just be saying that without...
Okay, sorry. Yeah.
I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Super right.
I'm saying fueling yourself. Okay, really figuring out a category in your life. Maybe work is kind of like a category to you. School life kind of like a category to you. Fueling yourself.
Oh, fueling.
Fueling, like, you know.
Not feeling.
No, not do you want a coffee? Do you want to wake up a little?
I think I had too much coffee.
Too much.
Because I never drink coffee. I had one in the morning. So this is like my second cup. That's why I'm probably like sweating a lot. Cut that out.
I'm gonna keep that in. Jesus Christ, yo. Why do you have to drink coffee? Just drink the water then.
I'm Pani Kachi. Oh, Bengali audience. Pani Cow.
Yeah, she's not Pakistani, she's Bengali.
I am not. We're the same thing. The war people who fought the war are like raging right now.
Probably. Okay, so now fueling, driving yourself, knowing that actually comes through a lot of, well, I don't want to say it like this, but I guess I have no other choice. It comes through a lot of self-discovery, right?
Yeah.
Knowing what drives you, knowing what emotionally, what physically, what mentally, psychologically, and so on and so forth, what really drives you. And I think this really comes from obviously, you learn a lot of good things by being at the opposite end of the spectrum, not really being there when things start failing. I know when I really started figuring out or really looking into fueling myself or knowing what fuels myself, I realized that the only reason I started thinking about that or taking it seriously was because I always kept crashing, like every week.
Oh
like,
yeah, same.
Oh yeah. Every week it's like you'll have days that it's really good and productive, or like something will happen where your mentality doesn't take it right. For me, it was for my part-time job.
Yeah.
For some reason, my mentality was like, oh man, work.
Yeah.
And then after work, I just crash.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find the balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I well, if you want pro tip on how I got out of it was just quit your job.
Okay.
Forget about financial independence. Just quit your job. I'm just saying this with the route I took.
Okay.
But
you're also living with your parents and your food is being provided and rent is being provided. So
exactly.
Same with me, but I needed my job to invest in me. Yeah.
Okay. So you're still figuring out that. So how is fueling yourself as far as it went for you at that point? Did you ever think about that? Did you ever think about like self-recovery in that sense, or did you
fueling
strategically?
Myself, like there was a lot of chances when I didn't have fuel, and it always had always had to do with like my mental health.
Yeah. Okay.
I burn out a lot, so
Yeah. Always felt. Yeah.
I haven't shot in a month and a half, but that's okay. I'm still being creative.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I always like I have ideas, and I'm always thinking about them constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like kind of like my fuel, because what I do is I create mood boards about my ideas, and it'll just be there, and I'll be like, okay, I need to get on that. I'm always thinking about ideas, so it kind of never stops for me. I don't know how to explain it. It just
You're always thinking about it.
I'm always thinking about it.
Borderline obsession, if not full obsession at all.
Yeah, and like I feel like if you want to be good at your craft, some of it you have to be kind of obsessed.
You have to be obsessed. It's not some of it.
And I'm low-key obsessed with like fashion and photography, and I'm always thinking about it.
Yeah.
And and I'm feeling myself just by comparing myself to me. Get off of Instagram. Get off of that shit.
Comparing yourself to yourself. Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between taking inspiration and then comparing yourself, and then you don't do shit. So I fuel myself the most when I take social media breaks, and I take a lot of those now, and that's when like good shit happens.
What have you explained to the audience? Just to it's okay.
Cut
you off, but like, I just remember the question that I wanted to ask was that ties in fueling yourself. Also ties in with the opposite spectrum, which is you spoke about social media. You spoke about say self-comparison and how unhealthy it could be. Say how healthy it could be in your life.
Unhealthy, yes.
So what for people who didn't understand, who doesn't understand why, say, you took more social media breaks, why did you do that? Why was it a negative influence, do you think, in your life? And if anything, did that stop you from growth?
Yeah, it did. Instagram, definitely. As a photographer, I don't know about any other creative fields, but I know someone creates images on Instagram. There's a bunch. Everyone's a fucking photographer.
Oh yeah.
And it becomes comparison, because you start validating your work based on how many likes you get, based on how many comments you get. But what you need to understand, the shit that gets the most clout doesn't mean it's the best thing ever. Doesn't mean it's good photography. Doesn't mean it's good content.
Especially in social media nowadays, where things go viral all the time.
Just because something has 1,000 likes and your post has 50 likes doesn't mean you're less than.
Yeah.
And like, I knew that, but my brain still was like, oh, my work is not good enough, blah, blah, blah. And I've been following all these people that I didn't need to be following, and it just made me feel bad about myself. So I unfollowed a lot of people, and I suggest a lot of people do that, because it's a lot of clutter. A clutter of information that you don't need, and it's actually blocking your energy and your creative flow, because you're constantly being bombarded by these things.
Right.
If you want to be inspired, turn off your social media, or like limit your Instagram, because it's not good.
Get that dopamine hit every 2 seconds.
Everyone's getting inspired by Instagram now, but you have to realize there's a world way outside of that, and so much better content. I figured out my best photographers by going to Indigo, going to the magazine section, and finding photographers that actually been published, and then searching their website up, not their Instagram, and then figuring out good content from there. And then that way you're more focused. You're not influenced by the likes, by the comments.
Oh, right.
Because that's like a dopamine rush that you get, and it's really fake, and people forget about your craft. You just scroll past it.
Yeah.
So, basically, social media break anyone. It's even scientific.
Oh yeah.
It causes you anxiety. It causes you depression.
Too many people get caught up in the social media game.
Yeah, sometimes I just delete the app from my phone. And it feels so good, because then I'm like looking at my surrounding. I'm thinking, I'm getting ideas, and then really being focused on that.
Right.
What else? But if you want to get inspiration, I'd say Pinterest is good. Better than Instagram. Pinterest and Tumblr.
It's very interesting, because like I personally don't feel it. I don't. But I definitely heard a lot of other people, a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know say how Instagram is so toxic.
It is very toxic.
It makes you feel horrible about yourself.
Yeah. Like, I know it sounds harsh, but I unfollowed a bunch of people from high school. I unfollowed bunch of like content creators, because I'm like, I'm looking at this stuff, but how is this benefiting my life? It's not.
It's kind of like noise.
It's like noise that I don't need. And why am I gonna? It's like with anything. Why are you gonna let something in your brain, in your body, when you don't need it, and it's negatively making you feel bad? So I'm just like, unfollow. And like, I'm sorry if you take it personally, but it's for my mental health.
Right.
That's how I see it.
Right. So just organizing.
Yeah.
Not just your life, but also what's in your phone. What you
that's
view.
Super. Like right now, we live on our phones.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
yeah.
and like it's a lot of the content you digest has a lot to do with how you think, how you perceive the world.
How you perceive yourself is also how you see the world and the way you follow.
Exactly. It's just like a circle, right?
Yeah. People spiral way out of control about this. So it's good on you for being able to.
I know, and I catch myself being on Instagram or like on Twitter for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, 2 fucking hours.
Yeah. You ever get on those points where like you all of a sudden on Instagram or say something.
Even YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, and you kind of stop and like, what am I doing?
Yeah, and
like, why am I here?
I have to unplug, go for a walk or something, and just like, and then actually read a physical book or something.
Right.
That physicality is so much better than like that digital.
That digital, virtual, that realness, consistency you get around you.
I would suggest like go to a library, get inspiration from there. It's such a nerdy thing to say, but if you're trying to create good images, so many old photographers are not even on Instagram, making it big.
Yeah.
You know?
Because Instagram isn't everything. And I think it's the entire thing of disconnect from, it's really cliche, but disconnect to reconnect kind of.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. And so this brings me to the other question that I wanted to ask, is that at this point in your life, you've gone through the initial phase. You've gone through like figuring out your mental state, your understanding and coming to acceptance kind of thing, and realizing.
Yeah.
So at this point, I think, was this the moment that you, I don't know if you unconditionally did it or not realizing, but I think habits are very important. Building a good habit to not just refuel you, or let's say having like day to yourself. A lot of people do that. A lot of people take a day just to, replenish themselves mentally. Do something for yourself that makes you happy kind of thing. That doesn't relate to your work. That doesn't relate to you. I want to show this kind of thing. I'm just doing it for me. It makes me happy. It could be a Rubik's Cube. Could be cooking. Who knows? All right. Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit of like going for a walk or disconnecting from social media. I think these were kind of like good habits that you employ over time to really benefit you. So were there a point that you actually sat down or realized like there's certain habits that I need to do, certain habits I need to kick out, and how did that go for you in the content of habits, and why were they important, if at all?
Kick out, yes. I'm a very avoidant kind of person, so if I have a problem, I avoid it, and by doing that, I start a series on Netflix. I am being serious, and then I'm like, I can't do anything. I have to finish this season.
Really?
I have to finish the season. That's a way of just. So I decide. I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
Stop avoiding my problems by distracting it with Netflix.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'm still working on that. But in terms of habits that I've created, I'd say I realized that I love nature, and for me to really ground myself, I have to go outside, walk, even like commuting, like being on the TTC helps me a lot. Listening to music.
Yeah.
Treadmill.
Exercise.
I could be on the treadmill for 2 hours. I love that shit. For me, yes, exercise. But like for me, in terms of exercise, it's different. Like I have to be on myself, like just running, sweating a lot. That helps me a lot.
Yeah.
So for me, it's habits that I've created. Exercising, still working on it because I'm still a fat ass. Kind of.
I think you're fine, to be honest.
Thanks, man. And what else? Nature. Love nature. Going on a walk.
Not being so in concrete boxes.
Yeah, in a room a whole day, it's not good for you.
Oh, yeah.
Get out of that room. Just go for a walk. Even if you want to get a donut to Tim Hortons, just go walk.
Yeah. Just go outside.
Get a donut.
Maybe not go outside just like with your head down and like, no, go outside.
Go outside.
Be outside.
You know what helps? People watching. It's creepy, but
people watch. Just got the people not watching you. You watching people like bird watching.
Yeah, like just sit on a bench and like look at that old couple. They're so cute.
I think as creepy as that may sound, I think it initiates the
it's just,
aspect of taking in the world around you. Instead of being in your
the
head.
world is such a huge place and you just breathe it in. It's colder now, but like I just try to go out for walks, or even like sitting at a coffee house, just sipping on that coffee and just taking in your environment.
Yeah, staying at home or being too closed off is definitely not.
Yeah, because you.
I think it's kind of unfortunate for a lot of creative people that, well, I've seen it with a lot of myself, because a lot of my work is in my room. I wake up in my room editing, and a lot of creative people.
On the computer, sitting down all the time,
And honestly, after a certain point, it's just like I'm so.
Yeah, you gotta take a break.
Yeah.
Did you know you're actually supposed to like walk around, every half an hour?
Yeah.
And like,
my chiropractor said that.
And ain't nobody doing that. Like once you're in the grind of it's time for me to get up.
Like every 30 minutes, my chiropractor told me that. I was like,
okay, like shut up. You're like just. That's completely unrealistic. I'll maybe do it every 2 hours or something.
That's good. I stay at home like freaking 5, 6.
I know, but like you know what I do? Now I like stand up and do work. So.
What do you mean stand up and do work?
So I have a monitor that can like raise up.
Okay.
So instead of like sitting down and doing work, I like stand up and like do the stuff. And then at least I'm standing, and I hate sitting down, and like my ass hurts. It's like not great.
Yeah. Eventually, I got to a point where like my body, when it knows I'm sitting with the brace on my chair, is like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. It's like this weird itch in your mind you just can't get.
I know. I hate it. You just gotta go for a walk, man. Even to the washroom, man. Just do it. Just walk.
Go outside, breathe a little, disconnect from
go to your balcony and sniff that air.
Yeah. What I found really helpful for me was like just in the morning when you have a cup of tea, when you make your cup of tea in the morning, just go outside before you start your day. Just
having
breathe,
that like little routine.
Yeah.
In the morning.
Yeah, routines are very important.
I'm still trying to get it down,
but you're starting. A lot of people maybe don't. Maybe you're in school. Maybe you're in any place.
It's hard, especially if you're working in a student. You can't have a routine.
Yeah.
You have a schedule
sometimes you have a class here, sometimes you have class there. It's like,
and then you have work till this time, and then you're tired.
And you're exhausted.
You're going to sleep in the morning and not wake up at like 7 or whenever you desire to wake up.
Yeah. And at times it's hard, and I think it's okay for people to just accept that,
give yourself a break, but not too much of a break.
Yeah, and just mental acceptance of not being too hard on yourself. I think don't be so caught up with like, oh, I'm not doing this because of this. Look, man. If out of like say 4 days, 3 days you do good, 4th day you mess up, that's still 3 days out of the 4. Over time, you still keep getting better, not being so caught up.
You're always gonna be better than what you were yesterday.
Facts.
It's true.
Facts.
I look at myself last year. I'm like, oh boy, oh boy. I'll say that next year. Hopefully, I better be saying that next year.
That shows growth.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on you. So. Now, after that aspect of your life, now you're really getting into creativity, like a lot. And at this point, how is your creative field on photography? What I know you spoke a little bit about before the podcast. You spoke a little bit about reaching out to people and clients and really getting actively involved. And I think that's very interesting. A lot of people don't put themselves out there.
Yeah.
Where was the point for you where you really started reaching out, and you said you DM'd some people, and how did that go for you, and how is it going right now? Like, where's the change and difference?
Where's the change and difference?
Like,
well, before I was just working with my friends.
Right.
Well, no offense, we're not like professional models. No shade, you know what I mean? But I do have some really hot friends, and they model for me, and thank you so much. But like, I was like, this is what I did. This is where the comparison came into play. I was looking at my favorite photographers, looking at the work they created, looking at my work. I'm like, why doesn't it look like this? And XYZ. And I'm like, XYZ, let me just give them the names. Models, makeup artist, clothing. Three main things of editorial fashion, which are key. And I'm like, okay, so the clothing thing I could style. And I'm like, now I just need to reach out to people who can do this. So what was the turning point what was that? How, I feel like you've gotten a lot more professional in this aspect. Yeah, because I started to take my shit seriously.
Okay.
I'm like, if I do this is going to go into my portfolio. This has to be good enough to be published in a magazine. Okay? Like, I'm not creating shit just for fun anymore. This is this is serious.
Mm.
That's when it turned. Before it was just like, oh, like photography is a hobby. It's not a hobby for me. Like it started out as a hobby, but now I'm like serious about it. Now I'm like, yes, in 10 years, hopefully I'm doing this professionally. And the only way to get there is when I take it seriously, when I reach out to people, when I reach out to modeling agency,
Right.
half of which never get back to me, which is okay. They will in the future.
Okay, yeah.
You know what? Like, I'm like, okay, this is not just for shits and giggles anymore. This is serious.
Taking it seriously.
I'm planning it now. I'm planning every shoot. I'm planning the location. It's a lot of pressure, and I do burn out. But I'm just like, this is what I have to do.
Yeah, especially in the beginning in the creative fields and everything.
If I want to get to somewhere, I'm like, I have to do this. There's no other, like before I'd be like, oh, my work just doesn't look like that because well, then go get it. Get that shit.
Yeah.
If you don't have the clothes, go buy it from Zara and then return it, okay?
Yeah, find how to do it. Stop complaining kind of thing, right?
Yeah, I'm just like, stop feeling sorry for myself. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm no one. I'm not no one. Everyone fucking starts out from like not doing
from the dirt, dude.
Yeah. So I'm like, I have the camera I have. I'm gonna reach out to people and make the best of what I got. So fucking cheesy, but it's true. And I'm like, if I want people to take me seriously, I have to take myself and my work seriously now. And I have to do it. And I'm like, need to stop feeling sorry for myself. Like, boo-hoo, who cares? Your work is shit. Go do something about it. And I'm like, I'm just going to DM a bunch of people on Instagram. I'm just going to email all these agencies. Done. Sent. 10 emails sent. 10 random people on Instagram DM'd.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, 2 of those got back to me. That is something. I'm doing it. I'm doing it, you know?
Good on you, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody gets to that point where...
You take it seriously.
If you guys haven't seen the Shia LaBeouf video, very inspirational.
Dude, that's where I get all my but like
honestly, that's how I keep going throughout my life. Every time like I start feeling, I don't have this, I don't have the lighting. It's like then either get the lighting or find an alternative,
or just
do something,
or just shoot on your shitty camera. It's
exactly.
all good.
Yeah. Just make it, and when you're in there, you'll start building it. I think a lot of how I came into this aspect was that having faith on the future version of you. Because you may think like, oh, I'm not good enough right now. Or what if I make a content, but it's garbage? Or like, dude, look, just make it now. The future you will know what needs to be made later on. And if later on he decides to get or she decides to get a lighting or this and that, you can do that. You don't have to worry about. Just do it.
Stop
right?
It's not that complicated.
People overcomplicate.
It's not complicated. You want to shoot something? Just like take your camera, point at it, and be like, "Yo, what's up? I'm making YouTube video. I don't know."
Well,
subscribe. For me, it was like, okay, I'm just gonna ask people, and a lot of it just happened with me, and I'm like, okay, I have an idea. When you're free, let's get down and do it.
Making things happen, yeah.
You
make friends.
Stop
you
feeling sorry
do
for
whatever.
yourself.
Be in school.
Yeah,
be in work.
Yeah, for me, it was stop feeling. I've played the victim way too long.
You ever feel like you played the victim, you didn't really know how you got there? You didn't realize that you were somehow feeling sorry yourself?
Yeah, because for me, what I learned from therapy and shit is like, it's because I didn't have my parents' support. Like, I don't know, like most people, they're like, their parents like, oh, good job, I'm proud of you.
It's like some sort of like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like none of that, no support. For all my support came from my friends who believed in me. That's why I say it's so important to like help your friends out. And then I felt sorry. I'm like, oh no one like appreciates me when I had to appreciate me. I'm like, who cares, man? Just like stop feeling sorry for yourself. And I'm still working on it because I feel like I'm doing all these amazing things and I'm not proud of myself because like my parents don't congratulate me or know what I'm like doing. But I'm just like, all these other people, I think like I'm amazing, and now it's my turn to think that I'm amazing, and I am, and I'm doing all this all by myself with no agencies, nothing. Like, and a lot of people are, and you just have to be like, stop feeling sorry for yourself, because like you're gonna just
eventually you're gonna drown yourself in this.
You're just gonna be like, I'm miserable. I'm not gonna do it. Just stop it.
Just
stop. It's like the people closest to you don't support you. Yeah, that fucking sucks.
Oh yeah, easily.
But you know what? You just gotta move on and focus on the people that do support you and are like, I'm waiting for your content. That shoot you did, amazing.
Yeah, even if it's like a few people, do it for the few people.
Do it for the few people most importantly, do it for yourself because that's what will keep you sane.
Right.
As a creative, that's what is going to keep me sane.
Making content you like for yourself.
Yeah.
And other people will like it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it really shows when you're really out there, when you really make content you like.
Yeah, it shows.
Instead of thinking, oh, what will people like when you
fuck
make
that.
content? When you
No.
I think that's the biggest thing about people who are in the creative field is like, I want to make content, but what will people like? It's we treat it like a business in the sense like, I'm gonna be a retail business. What do people want? Supply and demand.
Once you do that, people see that, and then you're not true to your content, and your content ultimately becomes shit.
Oh yeah,
It's
and you feel horrible. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Midway doing
it shows. It shows. When you're being a fake, it shows.
Yeah.
I think you know it.
You do your best work when you're satisfied with it.
Yeah.
People who align with that understanding will like it. And if people don't, that is fine. People have a different sense of humor, different sense of style, whatever. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means somebody likes chocolate ice cream, somebody likes vanilla ice cream.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
one's bad. It's that simple. This is where it comes to comparing yourself. And for me, I have to disconnect with people.
Right.
And just focus on me. And I'm like, okay, I did this. How can I better myself?
Right.
Because if I, on social, I can't help it. Like, I constantly compare myself. So for me, I really have to turn it off and improve myself.
Give yourself some little room to think about it. I think that was a pretty insightful story. I just want to hit you with the last question.
Yeah, I love that.
Not a necessarily question, but more insight. So at this point, when you discovered all these kind of things, and you're still kind of doing them.
Oh, still discovering, yeah.
And eventually, you decided to come back to school, right?
Oh yeah,
at the very end.
Back to school.
She's in school now, doing great. And eventually, when you got to that school, how would you rate or compare yourself if you could do jot forms, if you had to write it out, how you were when you left school, mentally, or your work or your health, things like that, and your habits versus how you were when you got back to school.
Okay. I go to school with more of a purpose, knowing what I want to do. So now I know what I want to do. That's, less anxiety attacks. I know how to deal with my emotions a little more. But I went back part-time just to get into it a little bit.
Lean into it kind of thing?
Yeah, lean into next semester I'm going in full-time. But, I'd say now I go to school with a purpose, knowing that it's going to get me somewhere. Before I was just I don't know why I'm doing this. This is not who I am. Now I'm just I know, learning graphic design, going into advertising, they're all related. Mm-hmm. And I could make something out of all the knowledge because all of this knowledge is not going to be wasted. And it's just going to improve me as a creative person. Because in my time off of school, I learned that now you need to be multi-dimensional when it comes to creative.
Multi-dimensional, what does that mean?
You have to know how to do kind of everything. You have to know how to do social media, photography, video, graphic design. It's just
a lot of skill set.
It's just being a part of a creative. You have to be a multi-potentialite or whatever you call it.
Potential.
Yeah, it's a true word.
Okay.
There's a book on it. You should read it. But yeah, so that's what I learned. I go to school with a purpose now.
Right.
That's the main thing.
And what made you go back to school? Where were you when you decided to go back to school? Because you wanted to leave your institution twice now.
Yeah, I wanted to go to New York, study at Parsons, and then I realized I ain't got the money for it, which is really sad. But back to school is when I was working at retail, and I'm I can't work at retail, and I know it was a temp job, and I'm I want to be doing something creative. I could be a creative director and still pursue my photography, but in order to be a creative director, I need all this education.
Yeah Okay.
So even at an advertising firm, I wouldn't mind doing that. So I'm in order to do that, I need to get this skill set. And I'm okay, and George Brown is really great for doing that. They have really hands-on
so that's what... So I guess that was the initial phase, and then now you go to school with purpose. Because of it, right?
Because of... I still love photography. That's always going to be my main thing. But I'm I want to develop my other skill sets and become a more well-rounded person.
Right.
That's just how I see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, okay, so one more thing you mentioned was that the very last thing that I think... I'm not sure if you've done, but I feel in this part of the story to summarize a really good, hard story of that really showcased the Self Betterment Project of your life in that year, growth. You talked about rather congratulating or rewarding yourself or feeling good about yourself or like accepting that you've done something good. So celebrating yourself,
Yeah,
I think is the
celebrating
word
yourself.
that you said. So celebrating yourself, going through all these things.
Yeah.
And why is that important to you? Why do you think it's important to people? Why do you think somebody watching this right now, why would they need to know celebrating yourself and your achievements? Why is that important? How did that play a role in your life specifically?
Because I never told myself like how proud of myself I am, and it's very important to keep going because sometimes you're so caught up in it that you just don't see the growth. And like,
oh yeah.
did you hear my stomach?
No, but if you want me to enhance the audio, to hear her dinosaur on her stomach.
Oh yeah, I'm really hungry. But okay, what was I saying?
Is the coffee getting to you or something? Celebrating yourself.
Celebrating yourself because you just don't know how much you've grown until you write that shit down. So I made a list of things I accomplished, and then I looked at it. I'm like, holy shit, I did all of these things. 2018 is a great year. And you should do that because once you come to a year, everyone's mind just sticks to the negative. All the bad shit that happened, you're like, oh, it's a terrible year.
Oh, right.
But like, no, okay, you could write down a list of terrible things that happened, but also write down the good things that happened and good things you did. It could be as simple as like, not simple, but like finishing school, maybe a semester of it, getting out of bed every morning,
Drinking a glass of water in the morning as a habit. Maybe you accomplish something, anything.
You improve so much as a person. Just writing it down, it helps to see it visually and see that you are growing and then there is movement, even though when you're stuck in it, you can't see it.
Right. And I think to add on to that, what I saw with myself was that sometimes, even though I'm a person who's always hard on myself, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
So I'm not sure if you felt it, but even at times when you're like, oh, I did all these things, but it's
not as good enough.
Yeah, it was not up to my expectation.
It's not to the level.
But like you shouldn't disregard it because it's not up to the expectation. You still calm down, accept it is movement. Maybe you're not moving as fast as you wanted to in life, but still movement. You got to start somewhere. Acceptance.
Yeah.
And celebrating yourself in the sense that look at where I used to be.
Yeah.
Look at how bad things used to be.
Oh my God. Yeah.
How I know a lot of people who start off in university.
So much. Like as a friend, I see you and I'm just like, this shit's amazing.
Is it the new trim that I got?
No, but seriously, Adnan, you are one of the greatest improvement emotionally and I've seen and like inspirationally. Like you had no like kind of motivation to do stuff, and now I'm like seeing you create content, and it happened. It took like a long time. It took 3 years almost, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be like, yeah, it's gonna happen in a month. It's gonna take years.
You can't build Rome in a day.
Yeah, that cheesy shit. But yeah, it takes years, okay? So don't give up. Like, it takes a long time.
Yeah. Don't give up. Keep persisting. Persistence. One of my friends actually sent me a video on persistence and consistency, rather. Do it every day. Little things that's not as impactful. Like, a video had an example of, like, why we go to dentists. We come out, like, really good teeth and stuff like that. But why brush your teeth? Brushing your teeth doesn't do it. But you got to do it every day kind of thing. So I think that ties in with a lot of self-betterment as well. Things take a long time.
A long time.
Don't give up. And stay persistent and keep persisting to your goals and stay consistent. And as the momentum builds day after day, as you keep doing it, you'll start figuring out your mind all of a sudden is now attracted to this idea that you're having. Now you're a bit more obsessed about it. Now ideas are starting to flow and how you're going to fix it. Things start rolling.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like what I was like sitting at home trying to theorize my way through life. Don't do that. Just launch yourself in. I think everything you went through ties together on being great, which I think you are. And I hope nothing but the best for you and your work in the future. Obviously.
Likewise to you.
Thank you. I stay in touch, I guess. I don't
We always stay in touch.
Yeah, so I'm really happy to see that not just people around me, but you as well, considering I saw you from a really, really young time.
Grade 4.
Eventually getting to the point you are and you're succeeding. I think that's great.
Well, getting there.
Still the progress is what matters.
Still progress.
It's not where you are, it's that you're
Let's
stepping.
do this a year from now. Let's see where we are.
Make this an annual thing every December.
Can we do that? That'll be dope.
So where are you in your life? Oh, I'm sad and miserable.
Sad and miserable, back on antidepressants. Which is not a bad
Like,
thing,
wow,
guys.
that year took a turn.
You never know, man. Shit happens.
But hey, we're going to 2019. Be a bit more optimistic. New year,
Working
new
on
me.
that.
New year, new you.
No, fucking
You're not-
hate that shit.
You're not into that? Come on.
No.
Really?
New Year, same me.
Same emotional baggage.
Yeah, just gotta work on it. It's not gonna change in a year, So
Or maybe 2, could be 3. I know some people took 5. So some people are still going through it. Whether you're in school, whether you're in a horrible relationship you can't find the middle ground in.
Whew, relationships, man. Oh man.
Should we ask you about that? I know I went to.
You can ask me. Yeah, I'm very open to everything.
Funny. I was gonna close this off, but I think a good way to close this off. Let me
Yeah.
hear your relationship stories on whatever you want to talk about. What do you think?
Right now, okay, so I've been in a serious relationship for 9 months and we're no longer together.
So you're single now. So
I
what?
am
So what are you telling the audience right now? Should I put up your phone number right here?
No, please. Please no fuckboys.
None of my audience are fuckboys, I assure you. Okay,
You're
go
100
on.
people.
My 106.
Oh, goddamn, good for you.
Thank you.
A year later, it better be more than that. It's gonna be more than that.
Hoping to. So if you want to, it should be more than that. Definitely subscribe while you're here.
Please do. But yeah, just figuring it out. Being in a relationship, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn what you need in life, need in a partner. And right now, I'm just like, I'm not like seeking out a partner.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah,
I'm just putting
yeah.
out the energy of what I'm gonna create, what I want. And if it comes along, it comes along. But I'm like, I'm just living life and doing good.
Feeling good. Doing
Feeling good, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a great 9 months, no regrets, But it's just time to move on and do better stuff.
Very inspirational. Wow,
Yeah.
Sumayyah. I didn't know you could be so inspirational. Damn.
Sometimes a little bit.
Sometimes she's inspirational. Yeah, sometimes it kind of happens,
Sometimes,
So when she's hungry, has coffee, way too hyper. Sometimes she's
I'm not
inspirational.
hyper. This is what I am.
So you're hyper. Anyway. So, again, I want to thank you for being on the podcast.
Yeah, you're very welcome. That would be $100. Yes.
Do you accept pocket lint?
Pocket lint? No, not yet.
Good, because I don't have them. Because these are nice new jeans.
Zara?
No, actually. But I'm going to play it off with Zara. Some top man, kind of beautiful.
Okay, I think we should end this now.
How do you think we should end this? Is there a way you wanted to end it?
Thank you so much for watching me talk about stuff. I don't know if you sat through this whole video listening to us.
Why does everybody say that about my videos?
It's not you, it's me, honey. But also subscribe to this great guy. He's amazing and he creates quality content. I love your podcasts and thanks so much for having me and listening to me blab about random shit in my life.
I think you're discrediting yourself a bit too much there.
Okay, thanks for listening about my awesome life and my awesome journey.
There you go. And obviously, don't forget to check out her website.
Yeah,
I think
please
it's
do.
pretty cool.
Please follow me on Instagram because that's all that matters.
Yeah, don't be surprised if she flips off a couple times a year.
Yeah, because I need that validation. Just give me all that
Okay, check out her Instagram. Check out her Twitter. She's more active on Twitter.
I am. I tweet about mental breakdowns.
I thought you were gonna say mental health. How to fight it. I know. Every time I break down,
which consists of a lot of mental breakdowns.
just in the bathroom crying right now. Quality content.
Quality. Just me and a glass of wine all by myself.
Oof.
Good shit.
In the bathroom crying about it. So check out her.
Please do.
Thank you for sitting through this all. Thank you for being here. I hope you got something out of this podcast. Again, this podcast will be coming out a lot more frequently. I've been just dealing with a lot of the logistical side of the podcasting and the channel and just myself. So thank you for bearing with us here at the Self Betterment Project. And with that said, I hope you take care, stay safe, and stay goddamn hot.
Okay, bye. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I loved it.